Well, good evening, citizens and businesses of the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District. Tonight, this live event is being hosted on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Periscope. And the overall objective here tonight is to be able to inform and educate the communities of the fire district. We'll be sharing a video to give you a brief overview of what it is that we're doing throughout the district, and on specific topic of response times, and almost equally and more important is we're going to be doing a question and answer session that can be very specific to response times and or any questions that you may have. I'm going to wait to get some more folks to log on, as it's important as we can get as many people as we can onto these calls. It looks like we do have people logging in right now. Those of you that may have questions that maybe did not get addressed last week on the Facebook Live, or you have questions specifically to response times, or any questions related to the fire district, if you want to start populating them now, there is a delay. Again, we are going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And so there's a little bit of delay, so you can start getting your questions into us now. That'd be helpful. Secondarily, is if you'd share this event. It's very important, again, if you're a resident or a business in our jurisdiction, that you know of these opportunities. And so we're going to wait as we have a good amount of people starting to come on. Last time we did this last week, we got reach to almost 8,900 people, and that's just outstanding. We need a lot more of that. And going back into the objective of why we're here tonight, again, if you're a resident of Brentwood, Oakley, Knightson, Bethel Island, Discovery Bay, Byron, Marsh Creek, Morgan Territory, if you're a resident, a business owner, and or if you work with any of those businesses, it's really important that you know what it is that's going on with the fire district. I also want to be clear, as there's been a lot of questions, as we have a lot of different mediums as of right now that we're trying to get as much information we can out to our citizens. We are not only doing these Facebook Lives, we did a Facebook Live last week. We also did a town hall, virtual town hall last week. We have another virtual town hall that'll be coming up again this week, which I'll talk about later on, and I'll remind you of how to get that information as we conclude here tonight. But we are also sending out mailers. We're sending out digital ads. You'll see those coming out through different media outlets over the next couple of weeks. Some of you may have even received a text coming from the district asking if you're aware that we have 9 firefighters on per day covering 250 square miles. And again, this is all in an attempt to educate and inform all the citizens within our fire district. In the near future, you may receive some phone calls of some volunteers. Just wanted to know if you're aware, if you have any questions, if you seek any more information on the fire district. And all of these mediums are intended to educate and inform all of you within our fire district. I also want to be very clear that your district is exploring all alternative options in regards to, and all options to increase service levels within our jurisdiction. We are working with the local cities and the county to see what opportunities may exist there. We continue to monitor what happens at the state in regards to any propositions and or measures at the local countywide level, at the state level, and also at the federal level to see if there's any impacts, positive or negative, on the fire district. And we're going to continue monitoring those between now and November. The district's always also preparing a series of different potential revenue measure enhancements that may or may not come in front of the residents. It's all by the board's discretion. But we currently have a 3-station deficit, and we are looking at everything alternatively. We're looking at the state propositions, we're looking at things nationally. And the board is also preparing to see whatever deltas or we can't do alternatively. And they will make considerations on moving forward with possibly any of those in November. But the reason we're here tonight is to highlight and just to advise of what we're doing as a fire district, is to get in the depth on very specific topics that we learned through the We Are Listening initiative that we did for almost 6 months to 8 months of listening to the community, identifying frequently asked questions. And we identified a series of 6 questions that we felt that we had to educate and inform our citizens on. And that is what we're doing between now and November, is continuing to educate. Last week, we did a video that was recorded and will be placed on the district's website in the next week or so. And this video will also be recorded and placed on the district website. And the intent is to share and continue to dig deeper so you have an understanding of your fire district. In the weeks to come, tonight we're going to be talking about response times. In the weeks to come, we'll talk about firefighters, compensation and pensions, the criteria, that is needed to fix our problem. We'll talk about taxes and why the district leans on and looks at opportunities of potential taxes, and then also the criteria again and what we need to achieve a viable and sustainable solution for the fire district. We are looking at many different means and different ways of which to be able to create and correct these issues, and it's very dynamic, but we want to make sure that people are aware and they're educated. I do not want any business member, I do not want any citizen within our jurisdiction to be surprised by anything the fire district does. I also don't want any citizen and or business member of our jurisdiction not to know what we have done and what we are doing and why we come to the conclusions that we do. Being educated and informed is very important. And so I want to thank you, as I know we're competing for your time. All of you have families, you have other interests, many of which respectfully, through your perspective, are more important than what we have here today. But what I will tell you is the situation we have in the district is very real. Again, we're at a 250 square mile organization. We have 3 staff fire stations with 9 firefighters on a day. We have an existing 3-station deficit. And we know over the next 20 years, we're going to need an additional 3 stations for a total of 9 to provide adequate fire protection to all of our citizens. And so education and information is critical, and that's why we're here tonight. Again, this will be recorded, and we want to make sure that you can share this with people. Please do. The time allowed for tonight is 1 hour. We did 30 minutes last week. We identified there wasn't enough time, and my goal and objective is to address any questions that you may ask. I would say no questions are off the table. I want to be transparent and available to you. And I will tell you that we missed 2 questions last week, and it was a matter of we thought we already addressed it in another question, and or it came in too late into the series. So if you don't get it, come back again. You can talk to me offline. My phone number and my emails are available on the website. And again, if you live in our jurisdiction, I want you to know I'm your fire chief and I am here to serve you. So there's a lot there. In the future opportunities, again, almost every Monday for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be going through these 6 videos. Tonight is video number 2, which is on response times. We also do have a live town hall meeting, which is focused in the city of Brentwood virtually, but it is available to everyone within our jurisdiction. The one we did in Oakley last week is going to be available. Again, we're working on the splash page right now. We hope the end of this week, no latest in the beginning of next week, it'll all be archived there. And these videos, hopefully, as we move forward in 48 hours, they'll be available for you to look at and to share. So again, share this right now if you're watching. If you feel that the fire services are important within the organization, this issue is real. It's important that people are made educated and informed, and continue to, we already have a good amount of questions already populating in. I really appreciate that, and continue coming in, and we're going to be running a video here in a quick second, and I'll reinforce some of the things that are stated, and we'll jump right into the Q&A. So I sincerely thank you on behalf of not only the fire board, but all the members in the fire district, all the firefighters, that you're getting educated and informed, that you're actively engaged here tonight, and thank you sincerely. So tonight is our second video of the 6 video series, as I previously discussed. We're going to be focusing on response times. I hope you enjoy the video. I'll reinforce it and open up the questions once it's completed. Thank you for being here tonight.
We're a very dynamic system. As I stated, we cover 250 square miles. It's a very large footprint to be able to cover. There are approximately 20 calls per month that go unanswered by fire engines that need fire engines from our agency. We have 3 engines and not having 6. Our response times go anywhere from a couple minutes over the national standards all the way up to 30, 40 minutes to be able to respond to an incident. Secondarily, if there is a fire inside of your house, fire will double its size every single minute. Time and distance matter. Furthermore, getting one resource to your house very quickly is important. We call that the speed of a response. When you call 911, you need a resource there immediately for the reasons I just stated. The second part of the response is the weight that comes behind it. If we arrive, we need more resources and we call for help amongst ourselves. How fast can we get additional resources there? Right now, as I stated, we do not have resources available for approximately 20 calls per month. And we have to rely on outside agencies which are further away to be able to respond to our agency. If we do not get more resources into our agency in the years to come, because population continues to grow, our response times are going to continue to get worse. There are many people that really believe we do not have a resource issue because we have had these aid agreements that are so imbalanced, that we have so heavily leaned upon our partnering agencies to be able to provide services to us. And they're overly strained, and we're holding on by a thread. And if we don't address our existing service levels within our jurisdiction to balance out those agreements, they have to do what they need to do to take care of their jurisdictions. And that's why we need to fix our situation. If not, that's going to be another compounding issue that we really don't even know the realities of. I get a lot of questions and I get a lot of recommendations saying, listen, 66% of what you do is medical aids. All you need to do is add more ambulances into your system and that would resolve your problem. And that's a myth. The reality is that we have a fire resource issue. The system is built and intended for fire engines to arrive first. Baseline medical care. Packaging the patients when the ambulance gets there, we can put you in the ambulance, and if needed, we'll go in the back to provide support. The issue we have is not having fire resources for on average of 20 calls per month and or not being able to provide resources outside of agencies to mitigate all of the incidents that we have. This is not an ambulance issue. Adding more ambulances into our system will not minimize and or reduce the challenges we have today. We need to correct and get more resources to improve response times for fire and rescue incidents that require fire apparatus. The ambulance system is working. The ambulance system is fine. This is a fire resource issue, not an ambulance issue.
Okay, thank you for watching that video. Response times are a very real issue within an organization. I spoke in the video about the speed and weight of response, and those are so critically important as we talk and we dive into this a little bit here tonight. If you look at the footprint of our organization, it takes a long time. If you were just to get in your vehicle and drive from Oakley to Discovery Bay or drive towards Tracy, our 250 square miles, we've got 100 miles of waterways from the north that wrap around all the way to the southwest. And it goes from the Antioch border all the way to the Old River Bridge, which borders with Stockton. And then if you go down, all the way down Byron Highway, it goes all the way into Mountain House towards Tracy area. Down Vasco Road, Livermore, Pleasanton, Marsh Creek, Morgan Territory to San Ramon Valley. And then as you go down Marsh Creek Road, all the way into Clayton. If you can think about driving from any one of those distant points to the other, time and distance is an issue. The speed of a response, as I said, is very important. How fast we can get to an incident, and once we have to call 911 and for ourselves, and or we know that we need additional resources calling for help and getting them from either outside agencies or somewhere else, even driving with lights and sirens, as we call code 3. It takes a long time for people to get where they need to go. One of the important things, actually there's a couple important things that we need to look at, is time and distance and arriving at situations. Fire doubles its size every 30 seconds. If you have a cardiac event, a respiratory event where you stop breathing, permanent deficits start to set in a 4-minute window. And they're saying at a 6-minute window, it's almost not survivable. So if you just think about fire doubles the size every 30 seconds, and then the impacts of not breathing and what happens in the 4-minute window, having units available and accessible and getting there fast is critically important. And then if we have a situation, we need a lot of resources to get them there fast. It's very important to be able to get resources fast. Right now, we do not meet NFPA recommendations. Our response times are double, if not triple, what the response time should be. We also didn't even talk about it in the video, but it states if you have a residential structure fire, the goal is to get the first unit at scene no less than 4 minutes, and the rest of the response at scene no more than 8 minutes. That means the speed and the response, we get everyone there in 8 minutes to mitigate the situation that we have, and it's because the fire doubling its size. We have an event in the fire service called flashover. That means that if you start a fire in a garbage can and it extends to your bed and it gets into your drapes and it runs up the walls, that the room can, what is called flash over. It means everything from the floor to the ceiling and everything in between is going to be fully engulfed in flames. And that event, because we don't have the traditional building materials that we had and the sprinklers aren't involved, that event, they say, historically was a 5 minutes, but we're seeing that happen at a faster and faster rate. Our response times for fires are intended for us to get to a home before we hit a flashover event. Flashover events are catastrophic events. That's where we lose homes and extends in the attics, and there's a lot of life loss when it hits that 4-5 minute mark. And that's why we want to get there as fast as we can. So we do not meet the response times that we want to be able to get. We have 3 stations today, as I said. We have a 3-station deficit, and with overtime, we're going to need a total of 9. And all of our stations are strategically placed that try to meet those National Fire Protection Association guidelines, as I previously stated. So that is really the kind of the overstroke of what it is that we need to look at. Another thing I want to highlight that I've been really experiencing over the last couple of years, actually, but it's been coming to a head over the last couple of weeks, especially since the last video, is I can guarantee you that there are many people watching this video, if we have the reach like we did last week of reaching out to almost 8,900 people, is that the communities that we serve, again, Brentwood, Oakley, Knightson, Bethel Island, Byron, Discovery Bay, Marsh Creek, and Morgan Territory. I need your help. And it's not only sharing our story, but I have a new ask. And I usually don't make many asks, but I do need your help in this regard. As I continue through my week and I continue to talk to many of you within the communities that are becoming engaged, historically, people did not know, people don't know, people are becoming aware because all of these different mediums that we're doing. We're moving the lever in regards to educating and informing. One of the biggest obstacles I have where I need help from you is that every individual community thinks only for that individual community. And that's hard for me. It's hard for the fire district. We are a system. And wherever someone calls 911 within our 250 square mile jurisdiction, we answer that call. And it's imperative that we be dynamic. And we set our system up to be able to address what we can do 90% of the time very well. In addition, there are many things that your fire district doesn't do that I want to highlight before we get into the Q&A. Listen, we are a fire district that, due to underfunding, we do not provide paramedicine or paramedics on our fire engines. That is a service level disadvantage that our members have to provide services to you and that our residents do not receive. The citizens of our jurisdiction have what we call EMTs. They provide BLS or basic life support. They do not provide advanced life services. We're only one of 2 agencies, fire agencies throughout Contra Costa County, that do not provide paramedics on their fire engines. And that's a challenge. Secondarily, again, due to funding and a lack of resources, I have had to guard, and we have for years, the type of calls that we go to. The fire district responds to calls, and we triage or sort those calls, and we categorize them in the different codes. We call them echoes through alpha. So it's A, B, C, D's, and E's. An alpha call is someone that's fell down 3 weeks ago, their toe hurts, they call 911, says, hey, I fell down 3 weeks ago, I need an ambulance, my foot hurts, I need a fire engine. We only send ambulances only to those calls. Historically, we would want to, as the fire district, respond to all calls that are alphas through echoes. If our units were available and we were there, why wouldn't we go to every 911 call, even if the injury happened many days ago? We find historically that when people call 911, due to them being scared, due to them not knowing the process, being overwhelmed, they miscategorize the situation they're having. So sometimes people make it sound worse than it is, and unfortunately, sometimes people make it sound less worse than it is. And so a full service fire department would desire to go to all calls, alphas through echoes, to be able to make sure that if we're not needed, we can go back. Right now, the fire district has been so strained that there's not only on the fire and rescue side, we categorize them the same way, but I'm talking purely on the EMS side. But we only go to echoes, deltas, and some what we call Charlies. We primarily go to echoes and deltas. We have to guard what we go to for the extreme calls. Echoes and deltas mean you're having a hard time breathing, you're not breathing. You're having the symptoms of a stroke. There are life-threatening emergencies. All of the other incidents, we attempt to have the EMS or the medical transportation, the ambulance system address it. And that is why when folks say, just add more ambulances to the system, ambulances are not our issue. Providing 911 resources, fire and rescue services are our issue. Getting fire engines to scene adequately and having enough of them to be able to address the calls that we have. I'm going to conclude also by saying this. There are many calls that we don't even speak to, many calls that we don't even make it to. due to the fact that our members, our response times that we have, and on our website, you can go to our website and we put out operational reports every single month on our response times. They look like this. You can go About the District on the About the District tab. Every month, Battalion Chief Ross McCumber, the operations of the chief, prepares his report, presents it to the fire board. If you watch our board meetings, you know about these reports. And identifies our response times by the areas, how automatic aid is used, and how much we're impacted. And these are available and we present them every single month. And so they're there at the touch of your fingertips. But one thing these reports don't do a good job doing is capturing the calls that we don't make it to at all. These are the responses for the calls that we make it to. It means that we got dispatched, we respond, and we arrive at scene. There are many calls of which, those echoes and deltas, those high severity calls that our members are sprinting from one side of the organization to another, and we do not make it at scene. So the point I'm trying to make here is this. We as your fire district are exploring every alternative means that we can to be able to increase revenue and ultimately service levels to the district. We have many folks that are not aware and they do not believe that we have any service level challenges within our jurisdiction. So it is imperative for people to know that we're doing everything we can to increase service level, but our situation is real. That the lack of fire protection is a real thing. It isn't something that it's not smoke and mirrors, it's reality. I said the last thing I wanted to hit on was the previous point, but I have one more point that just popped in my head. The automatic aid agreements that we have with other agencies. Contra Costa County Fire to the west, again, we are an independent fire district. We are not part of Contra Costa County Fire. We're not Brentwood Fire. We're not Oakley Fire. We're not part of the county fire. We're an independent fire district governed by a board of 5 with our own budget, not attached to anybody else. It is our job to provide these life safety services within our jurisdiction. We have very good neighbors to the west. They have been supporting us for decades. In that regard, as we have an aid agreement with them, we have continued to stretch it, which means that they're sending us anywhere from 2 to 3 resources of every one we send them. They've been subsidizing us for a very long time. We are working, and again, the press release that we had recently, to where we had to go from a fully offensive fire attack, means we go in and get it. We have the resources we need to provide adequate fire attack. We have to step back, and we're more transitional now. We start a defensive approach. We don't call for aid unless there's a life safety situation, and or if the fire can't get outside the box, or if it gets outside the box. Furthermore, we're only sending 3 fire engines to a fire, and we should be sending no less than 5. The aid agreements we have with outside agencies are really strained, and we're holding on to them, and we're trying to balance it out the best that we can. But being subsidized for so many years by them, because they are such good neighbors, has been very detrimental to me. A lot of folks say that we don't have a fire service level issue. I get resources adequately, I get them at an available time, and I'm having a hard time holding on to those agreements. And so, again, this is all to educate and inform. So what I want to do is, I don't want to spend the whole time talking. I think it's more important that I address questions. I think that you'll help me get to the point. We're 20 minutes in. I'm available for you, and I think it's important to work through these questions. If there's anything at the end that I think we may have missed, I'll address them. I do thank you for your patience tonight as I work through my thoughts here. It's the second time we've done this, but continue to share. Continue to share this event, and please let your questions come in. So let's just start with our questions, and we'll go from there. You guys are doing great with what you have, and I still believe you exceed the challenges regardless of response time. Keep up the hard work, and hopefully things will get better soon. I appreciate that feedback. Something I also want to highlight is all of these, and there was nothing there in that one, but historically, we do not modify, just to be clear. When we get anything through Facebook, it was a decision. We do not modify. So if there's anything that you see that is grammar or otherwise, we are taking it exactly how we receive it, because we don't feel it's appropriate. We want people to ask their fair questions in the manner of which they want to. But I do thank you for the comments. I think it's important that our members be noticed. I will tell you, it's not so much about us, but I'll tell you, serving as a firefighter and progressing through the ranks from the late 90s till date, our members, have a hard time feeling supported. They feel that they are not able, because I cannot provide them with the adequate resources that they need, that they can't perform to the level they're capable of. They don't have the tools to be able to perform to the ability they're trained to and they're capable of, because I cannot get them the equipment, resource, and personnel to do it. So I know they strive to provide a higher level of service, and I think they feel that they're not providing the level of service that they desire to. And I feel that they feel it also from the citizens too. So I want to thank anyone that acknowledges them, knowing that they're doing the best they can with what they have. And those that take the time to acknowledge them out there, I thank you in advance for doing that, because our members are doing the best they can with what they have. In any way they fall short, it's because they don't have the resources to do adequate work. So thank you. Next question. Good evening, Chief. My question is pertaining to the operating budget. You mentioned previously the district is stable for the next 10 years with 3 stations. What is the budget shortfall? If we can add stations 4, 5, and 6 today. In other words, how short are we from being sustainable at 6 stations monetarily? Good question. So we are approximately $12 to $14 million short to be where we need to be for the operating 6 stations. That's about double what our budget is. We're a 3-station organization now. We'd almost need to double it. To break it down, to be able to erase that deficit today, if it were through a revenue measure or other means, whatever it were to be, it's approximately $133 per parcel per year per station. Let me say that. It's approximately $133 per parcel per station per year. We have approximately 44,600 parcels in our jurisdiction, all of which provide taxes to the fire district. At $133 per year, we can open up 1 station. So if you're to multiply that, it'd be $399 per year, would erase the deficit that we have, and we'd be able to provide the protection that the studies say that we should be providing at this time. So that is our existing deficit. Again, we are working at the local and state level to identify all alternatives to be able to erase that deficit. And the fire board is going to be monitoring those situations and looking to see what we can do to erase it as we approach November. So between 12 to 14 million is our existing deficit. Great question. Next question. We do have the town halls coming up. So we have the Brentwood one on August 6th at 7 o'clock. It's a different format than this. I will provide a state of the district. I'll talk a little bit about our existing challenges. I will talk about what we've done to address our challenges. I'll talk about our stations, our locations, and I'll talk about the service level reductions that we had. And then we'll also have a board president there, and we'll have someone provide a testimonial about their optics and experiences with the fire district, and we will do a Q&A. We were hoping to have some representatives from Brentwood, as last week when we did the city of Oakley's, we had the mayor, Mayor Romanek, and also the city manager, Brian Montgomery, available. And so we're hoping to be able to do that through all of the communities throughout our jurisdiction as we move forward. So please join those, and the Eventbrite was on the screen, and we'll share that again as we move forward. Next question, please. Why don't we reinstate volunteer firefighters? Great question. So as I stated to you, or those before, I came through the ranks. I was a volunteer. I started out working with the Moraga Fire District in the 90s, and they said I need to go get a little bit more experience. If I was going to work there as a career firefighter, I came out here in the 90s, and I was a volunteer firefighter all the way until 2002 when we became a career firefighter. At the time, as the volunteers, I was learning to become an apparatus operator. And I had some years under my belt as a firefighter, a volunteer firefighter, and I had to start all over in 2002. And I obviously progressed through the ranks where I am today. The reason I highlight that is volunteerism throughout our jurisdiction started in the 1920s. On our website, you can see our historical recognition that we do. I'm very fond of not only the volunteers of those ranks. I was trained, I was cut from that cloth, and I was very, very well versed on how we operated and where we've come from. I don't forget where I came from, and that is a huge part of our history. And so we tried to hold on to, and I had the privilege when I came in as the battalion chief in 2006. When I started working as a line battalion chief, I was not only the prevention chief, but I was also the volunteer. I managed and oversaw the paid on call program, the volunteer program at the time, and we worked for years to be able to hold on to it. What I strongly recommend anyone to do if they want to take the time, it's very informative, is if you go on the district's website and you go into the press releases, which is on the very top tab of the screen, and you scroll down, there's a press release I put together about the volunteers. It isn't that the district doesn't like volunteers. It's something we don't want to entertain. It's volunteerism has become very, very challenging. To get to the point of it is that we have an alternative that we are looking at. If we had some training personnel, some support staff to manage another program, which we do not today, but as we start to increase stations, we will, is that there is alternatives to volunteer programs. The challenge we have with volunteer programs is what we learned. And again, the press release articulates it a lot better than I even do right now, is we learned we were actually competing with the community college district. The volunteers of the past, we are not in the same geographic type of community. We had a lot of agriculture. We had a lot of shift workers within this area decades ago, to where people work swing shifts and they were able to respond to calls, staff stations, do what they need to do. And we had up to 40 or 50 firefighters at a time, volunteer-wise, dedicated just to a station to make it run. We have learned over the years that trying to get people into the training that they need, and because laws and standards of training have also changed, that if you want to be a firefighter, volunteer or otherwise, you're going to be trained as a firefighter. And the people that want to invest the time, the energy, and the money to become a volunteer firefighter and get into an agency, they stay long enough to be able to get a job as a career firefighter. The volunteer firefighters aren't free. You have to pay for their equipment. You have to pay for their oversight. You have to pay for their workers' comp. And to be able to invest into people who train them from the leave and as a job or a stepping stone experience was not a viable solution for the fire district. We tried to hold on to it for years. We did find a very innovative program through the community college districts that they not only bring people in, they interview them, they vet them out, they equip them, they put them through the academies, and they seek partnerships with other agencies for them to be able to ride on the engine for extra helping hands as they're trying to get their certification signed off. And we see it as a great opportunity for us to support not only taking people from high school into the community college district and into a program. We have a fire aid program that helps with our prevention bureau and taking care of situations. We can get them into a program which we can sign off their task books. And when they're done getting their education, they can go on their way. We can go back to the pool and bring people in. Again, we don't have the oversight right now for that program, but it is a great program to be able to get some extra helping hands, but also to be able to train people and also look at the next generation of firefighters and see if there are members that we want to invest into in future hiring processes. So please look at the district's website. I want to be very clear is that volunteerism today is not what it was before. The challenges are very difficult. We do have a fire aid program, again, that is non-suppression, but it does prevention and logistics, which means that they do vegetation hazard abatement inspections. They help us when we have incidents dealing with food, rehab, helping our crews get back into service. We only have 6 funded positions right now, which equivalent to 2.5 full-time positions. They're a great resource for the agency. It's great experience for those members. That is about the max that we can do at this time with the revenues that we have. So I hope that answers that question on volunteers. Again, there's more information on the website, and I'd be more than happy to talk offline if there's any other questions. Next question, please. Chief, can you talk about other agencies having to cover help your district even far away from West County? Fair question. How you doing, John? So here's the deal is our response times and the lack of resources, we do strain. I did speak to the automatic aid agreements that we have, but we continue to strain what is also called the mutual aid system. The mutual aid system is a statewide system that all fire agencies and state and federal and other agencies participate in, and it's intended to be able to go to that resource pool when you can't manage the day-to-day operations for major incidents. Most agencies try, and they try not to lean upon the mutual aid system. They have their resources to mitigate what they do 90 to 95% of the time. And when they can't, they'll lean on the automatic aid agreements, which means automatically, if we can't fill it, the outside agencies we have relationships with will come in to support. At the end of the year, it's imperative that those aid agreements are balanced. When aid agreements and also your own resources get saturated because we have a major fire, such as 3,400 acres burning on the backside of Mount Diablo, or we have a 4-story complex that is burning where there's hundreds of people that are impacted, that is an out of a norm incident. where we might need to stress mutual aid. We as an agency are dealing with daily vegetation fires, residential structure fires, and we're having to reach out and lean upon the mutual aid system on a monthly basis, if not a weekly basis. I had meetings just this last month with the executive fire chiefs of Contra Costa County, and they very much have stated that we have many challenges in this county, and my agency is one of them. And operationally, we continue to draw on everyone on a frequent basis. And now it's starting to hit them. If anyone's familiar with our organization, we had 2 incidents just in the last 2 weeks. I had resources here from Moraga Orinda, San Ramon. I believe we pulled Crockett Carquinez, and Contra Costa County Fire obviously reaches all the way out to West County. And so we are pulling resources as far away as the West County area of Crockett Carquinez, Moraga Orinda, San Ramon. And so the fact that we're pulling on them regularly is a detriment countywide. And so our issues are really impacting everyone. Fair question. Thank you. Next question, please. Since our response times are so substandard, why don't we consolidate with ConFire? Do away with the auto aid agreements and merge and work together permanently as one. What are the reservations as a chief in consolidation? So we're exploring consolidation. We did explore consolidation historically. And when we went through that process before, the outcomes were very apparent. Look, any agency that's going to consolidate with any agency, you can do it from not only public safety, but just in a business. Any business that is going to absorb another business. There's got to be some economy. If one agency, for example, has resources and assets, the other one that does, it doesn't come again as mutually beneficial. Consolidating with an agency, having the deficits that we have, it has been very skeptical for any organization, and we reached out to many that surround us, entertaining if they would take on the liabilities we have as an organization. Again, we have 3 stations, we need 6, and they said if we brought you in, we have to be able to absorb and take that hit because your service level increases aren't going to be any less when we take you over. Furthermore, there was the cost of their personnel. Our members are right now compensated between 15 to 20% less than agencies that surround us. So that's an obstacle to overcome. So I want to be very clear about a couple of things. It isn't about reservations. It's about feasibility. Any agency, any entity is not going to want to take and absorb a problem because that doesn't erase the problem. If there is economy, if it is something that is feasible, there's a way to increase service levels in the same time of consolidating. That is obviously something that should be explored and something that should be looked at. So doing away with the aid agreements obviously would be something that would happen if consolidation were to occur. I also want to note that when it comes down to, I'm looking at the question again here. Thank you. I just want to make sure I hit it all. So again, no, I think I hit it. So that's just the issue. If the feasibility is there, we've explored them before. If there's economy, that's something that can work well. But we need to, I'm going to come back because I had something in my mind, but it's slipping right now. But again, it's a matter of exploring all options, and that's what we're going to do. There's not reservations, just making sure that we can make sure that whatever we do is feasible. Consolidate with no service level increases, it doesn't make sense. This is what I wanted to do. What I've been told historically was 2 things. The pathway to consolidation historically was very clearly this. The roadway to consolidation and the roadway of the district standing on its own and being sustainable and having providing adequate fire protection, it's the same journey. We have to erase the deficits that we have. We have to be able to stand on our own, but then it gets to the end of the road and says, because we become more and more attractive as an organization, people aren't absorbing a liability, they're absorbing an asset. And the question was, when you get down to the road, it's just a question of local control. Does local control matter? Is it something that the citizens of the local entity, do they want to have their own fire district? Do they want to be part of a larger fire district? And so erase your deficits. More agencies may want to absorb with you, but the current liabilities you have, agencies don't. So those are about the points on that. But again, it's not resistance. We're exploring every rock, and stay tuned. We'll come back on that. Good question. Why can't the tax situation be changed? Okay, so I'm assuming the tax situation is going to be focused on the allocation rates. So we all pay that 1%. That 1% is called the ad valorem. And in the Proposition 13 set those rates. Those rates were set in the 70s. As I said on the previous video, what they did in the 70s is they went around and they worked with all of the agencies that provided services, and they identified the rate of amount that they needed to provide the protection of services at that time. Each agency, worked with the state to set that rate, and all agencies, once they received that rate, knew that was the revenue that they came in, and as growth came in, they had to manage the growth through assessments, taxes, putting what we say is impact fees, one-time fees that goes toward construction of buildings or stations, and or community facility districts, CFDs, to be able to pay for the ongoing annual operations which we place on each property. Or they could have gone and just done an assessment overall to say, hey, we got future growth coming in, we want to open a fire station, we have to do future assessments. In the 70s, when the rates were set, Moraga Orinda, San Ramon, Contra Costa County Fire, they were providing 24/7, 365 operations. They were providing a higher level of service at that time when the rates were set, and that is why they're receiving more revenue today. We have made many discussions, and also if you go on the district's website, if you go into on the homepage, I believe it is, and you scroll down where it says strategic planning, you can scroll down to what's called white papers. And we've done 2 white papers on reallocation, the legal, legislative, and political challenges that the district has when it comes down to even discussing reallocating. I want to make it clear that the district has had conversations at the state and local level. We did for a year and a half, and we continue to having conversations about reallocation. From the state's perspective, what we've been told from assembly members and otherwise, not just unique to our assembly members, this is broad and wide. In addition, from many organizations that even represent the fire district. We have the Fire Departments Associations of California, California Special Districts Association. They've been very clear and stating, listen, you have agencies that are doing fine, you have other agencies that aren't doing so well, but if you're going to be taking from one agency to reduce services in one area to increase them in another area, it's a non-discussion starter. And that's at the state capitol. And that's with even, like I said, organizations that support us because they don't want to transfer the problem. They just don't want us to have to shut down this operation in regards to the deficit in East Contra Costa and take it over to Fire Department X. They've also said that, look, your revenue challenges are very much a local issue. The lack of due diligence, addressing growth effectively, not putting the appropriate mitigation measures on growth, that is a local issue. Again, please don't shoot the messenger. This is just what I've been told, and I want to share with you what I've had in my journeys. I've learned. I sought out reallocation when I came in. I sought out everything that people have recommended. I, with the support of the fire board. When I say I need to be careful because the fire board's done a ton of work, working to explore. That's why we have the white papers on the website. We have been told that the state allocations are not going to change for East Contra Costa Fire. We did not put the appropriate mitigation measures on development. We've grown 1,000 to 1,500% over the years, and we have no measures or assessments placed on a new development as they've been coming in. The growth challenge would be exactly the same that we have. The growth challenge, if we did not put those measures on future development, our situation would compound. Those of you that are monitoring know that this last week, we got the impact fees approved through the city of Brentwood. On the 11th, we're going to Oakley and the county, hopefully in September, to be able to get impact fees increased to the rate they need to be to build 3 future stations into the future challenges, not existing deficits. And we're working right now implementing a community-wide CFD, Community Facilities District, to be able to fully fund those stations over the next 30 years in the future. But we don't have the existing service level deficits addressed. If we had placed those methodologies on growth, we wouldn't be here today. You'd have adequate protection. We'd be a destination organization, something the citizens should be proud of and the members would be proud of. We didn't, but we've stopped the bleeding. So if we were able to place that same methodology on the existing residents today, we would be whole. We can't do that legally without the support of the citizens. We have been told very clearly that folks don't want to support a revenue increase to the fire district through those means, and that's why we're exploring all alternative options to see what else that we can do, and maybe cooperation with entertaining some sort of an assessment or not. And that's what we're trying to do our homework on before now and November. So there's a lot there. I really encourage someone reading those white papers. This is also important to know, we legislatively are very actively engaged. I sit as the legislation, rep or chair for the county executive chiefs. I participate with the Fire Department Associations of California to also work and monitor anything legislative. I did a podcast on a national magazine called Firehouse Magazine, which we'll be releasing through the district here in the next couple of days. They released it nationally this morning. They interviewed me a couple of weeks ago. But I did an all call to all fire districts throughout the state of California that have been negatively impacted by the ad valorem and the percentage rate. I have also that are leaning upon mutual aid and automatic aid at a rate of which is greater than we are. I believe that we are the poster child of the problem, but I do not believe that the problem is unique to us. But I've been in this position for 3 years. I've been seeking other agencies, and I can't find anyone that's impacted like us. The point I'm trying to make is, look, just because we've explored things they haven't worked, we're going to continue to explore. We will build a coalition with other agencies and make this a state issue if there is one. But hanging our hat as this being the resolution, this is going to take years to be able to resolve at that level, if at all. So again, continue to stay engaged. This is a very fair question. There's a lot of information, detailed information on the website. I'll talk more offline about it. I hope I address that question. Next question, please. Why do we, as taxpayers and voters, to get more funding? What can we do as taxpayers and voters to get more funding? So here's the thing. That's a great question. Number one is being informed and being engaged as you are today is the first step. I think understanding our deficits, understanding local government, understand what's going on with the community. Again, respectfully, I don't know where you live, and it's really none of my business. But if you live in our communities, again, are you part of the county? Are you part of the city? Obviously, are you a resident of California? I think understanding how things work is really challenging. I'm not going to misconstrue. I have it all figured out. I mean, listen, folks, I'm actively learning every single day. It's a very humbling position to be re-informed of what's going on. What you can do is, number one, be informed, be engaged how the processes work, and know what it is we're doing. Know where authority lies and where authority doesn't lie. What can agencies do or not do? I have no authority to take money from one organization and transfer it to my organization. I facetiously have said in the past, I'm not a magician and I'm not a thief. I'm a fire chief. I can't take money from one agency to make us whole, and I can't make money out of nothing to increase our service levels. We need additional revenue. And so what we need to do is get engaged. Whatever the processes are in regards to the means that we're exploring, get engaged in those. If you have a voice, share your opinions in it. If the fire district moves forward with anything in the future, which is going to be a board decision, again, they're vetting out and looking at everything. We're looking for no tax solutions. That's what we want, and they'll entertain them if needed as we get closer to November. Be engaged in that, and when and if an opportunity arises through whatever means, federal, state, local, when I say local, cities, county, speak up and get engaged. And if you believe in an initiative, districts or otherwise, that it could be beneficial to the fire district, get engaged. Share the information. Let people know what the challenges are. Let them know there's the need. And if you believe in it, and if you believe in whatever the ask is, support it. And if you don't, the reverse of that. So thank you for being engaged and being informed. Get the other people into the know and participate. So are we going to put another ballot on another tax on the ballot? That's to be seen. Look, right now, the district is exploring and preparing all alternatives. So as I've stated before, is that we are working at the local and the state level to continue to explore any alternative revenues from any initiative, any proposition. We are watching things at the county, a potential, if there's any taxes that can come through the county to potentially impact the fire district. Is there anything done at the federal level through a proposition that may impact the fire district? And we guard against those things, positive and or negatively. We are watching everything. We're exploring the consolidation conversation. We're exploring everything. So and As we're doing that, running parallel to it is my job as the fire chief within my means, and what I can do is educate and inform, number one. And number two is put the tools and resources in front of the fire board to erase any deficits that we may have. I have, and I'm preparing for the fire board, a potential 1-station increase initiative, a 2-station increase initiative, a 3-station increase initiative, or a 3-station tiered up, which means that if it were to pass, it'd be 1 station in year 1, 1 station 2 years later, another station 2 years later. And if they want to go for 3 stations, they can go for it all at once, or they can go for it in a tiered up approach. And they would have escalators in between, and we can use one-time monies to make a catalyst to get it going faster. So I am putting and preparing all of those mechanisms put in front of the board. We're exploring every option to make sure we're doing our due diligence. We will see what happens in November with all initiatives. We'll see what happens with staff level feasibilities through consolidation and other discussions. We'll see where we are in November. And then the board can consider, if need be, if we haven't erased and got rid of all of our deficits, they have a mechanism to be able to move forward. That's why it's important for all of our citizens and businesses to know what we're doing, what we're working on, and where we arrive at a conclusion in November. I would hate for our citizens to engage in November, see that there is or is not an ask, and say, wait, where did this come from? What are they doing? And we get that all the time. And many people do not know about our challenges. Many people do not know what we're trying to do. And it is important for me, people to see our behaviors, know we're trying anything. So when we make a decision, and if we make a decision, they're readily informed to know we didn't just arrive there overnight. And it is really hard to educate and inform. So to be direct is that decision will be considered if needed. And the goal is to not be if needed, but if needed in November. And it's important that everyone be engaged. Great question. So if people could stop with stupid fireworks, that could help. Forgive my giggling. That would help. Look, I'm going to say, listen, fireworks are a compounding issue. Fireworks are illegal in Contra Costa County. Safe and sane fireworks are illegal in Contra Costa County entirely. There's no legal fireworks that are allowed. We're compounded in this area. Look, we ran, I don't even want to misquote it, but over 100 incidents on the 4th of July. We had 2 injuries related to fireworks. We had a 125-acre vegetation fire, and I believe we ran 29 fires on the 4th of July. And many of those related to fireworks. I also want to stress this, putting fireworks in staging and saying this is that, listen, it is imperative that all of you do what you can to be preventive. Please keep your properties clean, do your vegetation hazard abatement, make sure your smoke alarms work, make sure that you have an exit drill or exit plan within your own home, make sure you have fire extinguishers and they're operable within your home. Do everything you can to maintain your appliances. Make sure that you maintain not only your property, and just be prepared. Know how to shut off your gas if need be. All right. Know how to shut off your appliances if need be. Know how to shut off your water. These are all very important things. When you call 911, how can you close that bridge by the time that we come? We need to be preventative. We would need those same things if we were fully staffed and fully funded for a fire organization. The fact that we're not, the fireworks are a compounding issue. The lack of maintaining a property is an issue. So help us help you in everything that you do. And please, no fireworks. It helps us a lot. Good question. What can the district do to keep new firefighters working for us? It seems like they're working for a few years and leaving for greener pastures elsewhere and working for other departments. Listen, our members are committed. They're very committed to what we do. They're committed to who we are, and they're committed to this community. Many of our members, I think at one point it was over half, like myself, we are your volunteers. We have been here. We have so much agency knowledge. We have run these streets. We have run the fires. We have done these things for decades, and we have a wealth of knowledge. But what the community member states is a reality. See, our members, they're very committed, but our members desire to work for what we call a destination organization, one of which they can provide adequate level of fire protection. It's an agency of which they can be proud to work at. When someone calls 911, they have the speed and they have the weight coming behind it to do some miraculous things. Save lives. That's what we got here to do. Save lives, property, and the environment. Our members are disadvantaged from go. Furthermore, as we'll talk about the pay and benefits coming up, look, we're doing everything we can to be competitive within the market. We are never going to be able to pay what many other agencies do within our jurisdiction. Our members are 15 to 20% below. In the very near future, we're in negotiations, and this is where I get criticized all the time. Our members are going to be getting a pay increase in the near future to be able to stay competitive within the market. Their contract expires every 3 years. And we need to make sure that we try to keep competitive. We're never going to meet. We are not going to be able to exceed. We are trying to stay competitive. So in the next month or so, we're going to have to communicate and say, hey, they're going out of contract. We did a salary survey. We'll be getting a pay increase. And it's like, wait a minute, members are getting a pay increase. Service levels are the same. What are you doing? And just like running any other business, and I've said this before, I mean, if you're a painter, you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, or if you're a surgeon, if you're an astronaut, whatever it is, you want to be competitive in the market for the skills that you have. We have professionals that dedicate their life, they risk their life to do their profession. And our members can do what they do at other organizations, but they choose to be here. So the pay and benefits are, I know it's a touchy subject, and many people are saying, you know, you need to talk about it, and I want to talk about it. But we have to be able to take care of our members and try to keep them competitive in the market. And we need to give them the tools and resources to do their job. I think that our members understand that they have not been compensated at the rate of other agencies. And we've done better to stay somewhat competitive, at least getting, 15% within market. But we have a long way to go there. But I think the thing right now is, where are we going to be in regards to service levels? Being an agency that starts in a defensive stance, then transitions to an offensive stance. People responding to calls and can't even make it to scene. Not being able to provide advanced level supports from being paramedicine or otherwise. I didn't even get into the fact that we don't have specialized programs. We run and we focus on only what we can do 90% of the time, and that is responding to EMS calls, fire calls, and rescues. We do not do water rescues. We do not do confined space rescues. We do not do technical rescues. We have the hazardous materials. We respond to those calls at an awareness operational. We stand back, but we do not get engaged. Our members are trained. They're just not equipped, and they do not have the ability to be able to perform in those things. So keeping on the people is not just a pay and benefit issue, it's a service level issue. And our citizens are disappointed in the service levels they get, rightfully so, but so are our members. They're monitoring and they're watching. And if we stay who we are and where we're at, it's not going to be pay and benefits, although that is a compounding issue. It is going to be service level. So we are holding on to our members and they're monitoring. We have a lot of talent. And, I've said this before. I choose us. I have opportunity elsewhere. But all of us are monitoring and saying, we choose our community. We choose and we want to be here. We are dedicated to our organization. When we realize that this situation is our reality, and this is who we have to be, many will reconsider. And that's what we're trying to prevent. So we're doing a good job holding the line, but we're on a fine line. And we got work to do. Next question. Why isn't there a moratorium on building? Please go to the district's website and go into the same strategic planning section on the homepage. On there's another white paper about calling a state of emergency or building moratoriums. The fire district has no legal authority. We are not a land use agency. We cannot declare a state of emergency, and we cannot call a moratorium on construction. Furthermore, the concept of moratoriums, other entities and agencies and communities have done moratoriums. They're very detrimental on a community. Understand, a moratorium means no permits can be pulled. You want to do something minor around your house, you want to put an awning at your house, you want to be able to do a minor remodel into your house. This isn't just for big construction. It's a huge monetary hit. It stops everything in the community, and the impacts last for years. The district has had a position that we cannot support new development. That means development that has not already been entitled or has not already gone through the process. Those ones that already have, and we don't have a legal say on it. All new development that's coming through the queue, they have to have impact fees and CFDs placed at the rate of which when they pull a permit. That's what they need to do. And for that reason, we will support development that moves forward that takes care of the impacts they bring into the district. If the future development that comes in does not, the district does not support. The city of Brentwood, Oakland County, they placed those conditions on all new development. We're moving forward at the right rate, and we're implementing those fees as we speak. So again, please research the moratorium, understand the impacts, and I would be happy to talk more offline about this. Who can we send in emails to help at the state level? We had hundreds of letters written for drilling. We may be able to help in regards to that. What I would recommend is that if you look at the any assembly members, look at your local assembly members within your area who represent geographically wherever you are. Assembly members, Senate members to some degree, and then if you are in the county, if you are in the cities, you have elects there too. I will tell you that many people are aware of the situation. We continue to be engaged. I work with staff. Our fire board continues to communicate with the fire board. I will speak on behalf of many of our board members. If you want to reach out to them, they'd be willing to sit down and have coffee with you. They would be willing to let you know what initiatives they're working on, how they're communicating. So again, it would be any elected official at the assembly and or the state, and also at the local level to make them aware of our issues and watch what's happening within the local governments. Next question, please. When cities allow more housing tracts to be built, do they weigh the impact on the fire department? Many people equals more fires, correct? Do you get funding for more homes built? So again, the two things that we get on all new development is what's called impact fees. It's a one-time fee that goes to the developer. So when they pull a permit to build anything, they're given a one-time fee. It's called the impact fee, and that goes into a restricted fund. And those funds are what we use to build stations and apparatus to address the impacts of future growth. We also work out the agreements with those new developers to put in place what's called a community facility district. We call it a CFD. And those CFDs are assumed by the developer. They're responsible for it until they sell the property. And once they sell the property, that assessment gets transferred to the property owner. And that property owner will continue on an annual basis to pay that assessment, to pay for the mitigation impacts of their development. Right now, we're on the implementation phase of doing that. We historically have not done that. That's why we have an existing service level deficit here today. Put the question up real quick, please. The same one. So yes, more development as we move forward will bring in additional revenue to the fire district. The issue and the optics that you have, I got the question now. Also, just so folks know, they're saying, wait a minute, but we've had so much growth, you should get more. And we do. We do get more. We get a lot more. But we're also now running what was they're volunteer, or they got paid just for every call they going on to. We're running a 24/7, 365 operation a day. It's apples and oranges. Even if you incrementally, if we had a volunteer organization today, it'd be huge. It'd be huge. I mean, we had 40 to 50 people assigned to one station. We have 9 now with the 24/7. We're 24/7. So we're paying for 24/7 operations, full service. We're handling everything on our own. We're completely independent. We do our payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable. We have a prevention bureau. We're a full service organization, not providing all the services we should, but we're a full service organization. And so, yes, our incremental rate of that 1% of valorem is 7%. It's half of what it should be. That's why we have the deficit of half of what we should be at. And the reason being is because we're funded at a volunteer rate and we didn't put the previous assessments of the past. So yes, building growth has happened and a lot more revenue is coming into the district. And that revenue has helped us get to a 3-station, 24/7, 365 operations. With the Prevention Bureau, we have command staff, we have oversight, we'll run all of our professional services on top of that. But that's all it holds. If we want to increase beyond that, we need additional revenue through alternative means and or assessments, as our statute says. That's where we get it. Fair question. Would you be eligible for funds from the County Board of Supervisors half-cent task if it passes? It says funds would be many things, including fire services. That is one of many initiatives that we're looking at. We're looking at, there's a couple propositions at the state. There is that at that local level, and that's why we're monitoring all situations looking between now and November. When we see if anything passes, if it's in favor or detrimental to the fire district, we'll identify its positive and or negative impacts on our operating budget, and that's where we'll assess accordingly. That is a general measure. But I do know very openly that the supervisor, she very much is eager to find, and she's working with us as every other entity. We are working with every entity to explore every rock to try to find, alternative funds through other mechanisms. So I know it is her interest to be able to positively impact the fire district. However, again, it is a general non-specific tax. There are not any specifics that I am aware of, but we are continuing to monitor that situation, and we'll know in November if it's positive or negative, and then obviously we'll adjust accordingly from there. Great question. Welcome that. Need all the prayers I can give. We all can. Thank you. Next question. I thank you. So we are at that mark. We've been running, wow, an hour and 5 minutes, but it's that time fly. So I'm going to scroll. I don't have any more questions. What we're going to do is I'm going to work towards conclusion. I'm going to make it rapid. We have a lot of people monitoring here tonight. Continue to share this. We had 4,500 people was this shared with at the end of the first night, and it got all the way up to 8,900. Continue to share it. Go to our website. There's a wealth of information. Our budget, our contracts, our response times, the white papers, the studies, everything that we have, it's available there. Wealth of information. All my information's on there. I really want to thank everybody for being here. We will continue to, the goal again is also to put this onto a splash page on the website. So if you want to give this to friends, point them to future opportunities, we're going to be doing this as we continue to move forward. It's really important. We do have that town hall meeting in Oakley coming up this week. Different format, different information. It gets further in the weeds on different things, and I think it's important for you to be there. So I want to thank everyone for being there. Listen, I had a community member that is, I won't say it by name nor by community, and I hope she's on the line. She has been very critical and very challenging of me, and I welcome that. I hope you all understand. I welcome the criticism. I welcome the challenges. I strive to improve daily, but she left me after a very long conversation with, hey, we're in this all together. And I do see people become more aware and people knowing where we're at, and any decisions we make moving forward are gonna be hard decisions. But I think it's better and it is easier for us to make hard decisions if we're educated and we're informed. The information's at the tip of your fingers. And I'll conclude where I usually do conclude, that if you are a member of our organization, if you're a citizen, a resident, or you travel through Brentwood, Oakley, Knights and Bethel Island, Byron, Discovery Bay, Marsh Creek, Morgan Territory, I am your fire chief. I'm here to serve you. I'm accessible to you. My phone number is 925-584-8468. And my email is bhelmick@eccfpd.org. I want to work with you. I want to inform you and educate you. These decisions are hard. Our meetings are open to the public. Stay engaged, stay informed. Please do what you can to make our community safer. I'm looking forward to meeting with you on future opportunities. And I appreciate those that are here tonight because I know your time is important. And I don't take that for granted. So that concludes tonight's meeting. I look forward to the future opportunities to continue to communicate and educate. And until then, thank you for your continued support. Please be safe. Thank you.